Now, I was going to record this episode outside, but I decided I didn't want to freeze my ass off. Before we get into anything, I just want to say, what's going on? How y'all doing? How y'all feeling? I hope that you are enjoying these episodes of season 2 of the Phoenix Speaks podcast. For one, if you're new here, my name is Phoenix and I am the host of this podcast. This is a very different take on your average podcast, so I want you to know that if you're new, welcome. We're a little unorthodox over here, so obviously each episode is looking a little different, and sometimes things are going to be just very different from what you're used to. You might be used to a certain level of production quality and other things of that nature. Maybe I'm working with what I got, so I ain't about to sit here and cat for nobody. I'm gonna try my best and do my best here. So with that being said, we're gonna get into this episode. Let's get our time and date check. It is currently Thursday, December 14th. And it is 1:20 p.m. I really want to talk about one thing in particular on this episode, and if you've already read the title, you already know what we're talking about. I want to talk about the sunlight and the sunshine and how that really does play a factor in whether you have, I don't want to say it plays a factor in whether you have seasonal depression per se, but it does assist you in regulating your seasonal depression. The reality of the sun is that the sun provides us with light. It provides us with heat, one of the most important sources of light and heat that we have. Like, if you don't think about it, you're not going to really appreciate it or find the value in it, but the sun provides us with everything that we need, at least in the respect of sunlight and heat. If the sun's not on, we cooked, and not cooked in like we getting fried. We're cooked like we about to freeze to death and it's over with. And that's like, we don't really think about that, and obviously who would? We take it for granted as something that's just there. You walk outside on a clear day, you're gonna expect to see the sun in the sky, whether or not the clouds are in front of it or whether or not it's raining, whatever it is. You know that the sun is going to be there, and you can tell that because you still can see, and that's just the reality of the sun. But we don't really think about how the sun actually impacts us internally, because of course we cannot see that. Physically, we can see, okay, if I'm out in the sun a little too long, I'm getting a little tan, go too long, and I might have a little sunburn. And so that's something that's a physical, side effect of the sun. But if we take it from the molecular level, the sun provides us with certain rays, the UV rays that comes from the sun, actually gives us the ability to create vitamin D in our bodies, right? Vitamin D is very important because it helps with bone strength and health in general. But that particular essence of what that does, it does provide you with some energy. In your body, you will notice when you're low energy, when you're just not feeling, your best. If you just go sit in the sun for a little bit, you will actually find out that the sun is a great energy source. It's a great source of just getting you some energy or just some extra boost throughout the day. Some people drink coffee, some people sit in the sun. I mean, it's up to you. It's your choice. I want to give you some stats to back this up, because I think that's one of the most important things, is to kind of have some statistics. I'm no professional. I'm not a health professional. I'm not a medical professional. So even all this advice that I've been giving up and from the beginning of this season and even last season, these are lived experiences, things that I've learned, things that I've observed. So take it with, I don't want to say a grain of salt. Take it with a little teaspoon of sugar. You know what I'm saying? You never know. It might be some sweet stuff in there. Alright, so I'm just going to read this straight from the site. This is actually from a source from UCLA Health. It says a study done in Valencia, Spain, measured the amount of sunlight necessary to produce a sufficient amount of vitamin D in those with lighter skin. The researchers took into account the amount of clothing in the season of the year. In spring and summer, 25% of the body, the hands, face, neck, and arms, is exposed to the sun. And in these seasons, about 8 to 10 minutes of sun exposure at noon produces the recommended amount of vitamin D. In the winter, only 10% of the body is exposed, and nearly 2 hours of sun exposure at noon is needed to produce a sufficient amount of vitamin D. So that just gives you perspective on the difference between summer and spring compared to the winter and fall. It says that you need to be out there for at least 2 hours to get your recommended dose of sunlight or sun exposure, so that way you're able to actually produce vitamin D in your body. With that being said, if you really think about how the wintertime is, time goes back, so obviously we're losing some daylight, and then the reality is it said noon, so noon is midday. Usually that's like lunchtime for some people, but the reality is if you can't get outside, you're not getting that 2 hours of sunlight at noon that's preferred or recommended for just best possible exposure. So now let's think about this. If I go to work around 8 in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning or whatever, and I'm there all day from about 5 to 6 or whatever the case may be, and there's only a little bit of sun, a slither of sun left, because honestly, now the sun is probably setting like 4:30ish. I'm going into work, the sun is technically up, but by the time I come out, I can't, there's no access to sunlight because the sun is gone. Man down. So obviously that's something to think about, because if I can only get my sunlight in the morning, how do I adjust myself to get that? Some people get tired. I'm not going to sit here and tell you to wake up earlier. That it could be a possible solution, but I'm not going to force you to do that, or I don't want you to feel pressured that you got to do that, because at the end of the day, sleep is important as well, and sometimes you do need to sleep in. Sometimes it's not a situation where you can really sacrifice one thing or another, but there are possible solutions that you can use to actually get the vitamin D that you need in your body. Supplements definitely help. If you can find some vitamins that have vitamin D in it, that's perfect. Sometimes there are like multivitamins that you could take daily that pretty much have all these things in them. But a lot of times, at least from my own experiences, I found that with vitamins and things of that nature, they actually really do help. If you notice your body feeling off, this is something that my dad used to say to me all the time as a child. He would say, go drink some water. Like, just in general, I would say, I'm hungry. I got one this, I want this. Go drink some water. And for some things that can work. For other things, it's really not. It was just random. But to a certain degree, it makes sense, right? Sometimes I have found that I was feeling off or something was just wrong, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And the reality was I was dehydrated, right? So I needed to drink some water, and especially water that could either have electrolytes in it, or you just drink some water with a little bit of salt mixed in, so that way it helps to get those electrolytes boosted. Sometimes it would just be that I'm off, completely, and water wasn't the issue. It was I was deficient in another, vitamin or mineral, or whatever the case may be, and I need to make sure I have that in my body. So taking those daily vitamins, eating, the right way really does help. A lot of times it's hard for people that are dealing with seasonal depression or depression of any sort, because you don't feel like you're on a normal schedule. Your body is really just like, I don't want to eat, or it doesn't want to do the normal quote unquote things that you would typically do when you're not experiencing these symptoms or this type of situation. And so you kind of have to force yourself to actually eat foods and eat regularly, right? Or just find things that are balanced. Like I said, the supplements do help because it's not as much. You could take one pill or one gummy or whatever it is that the vitamin is, but those things are going to help regulate you a little bit better, because sometimes you're just off chemically, or I think chemically was the right word, but sometimes you are off chemically, and so you just have to adjust to what is going to work. Sometimes it's not as simple as just drinking water, just getting vitamins in your system. Sometimes it is something that's going on mentally that really is just weighing you down extremely, and it makes you feel fatigued in your body, it makes you feel off, and that's just the reality of the situation. There's not necessarily a rhyme or reason of or like a true solution that can fix everyone's issues. The reality is you got to have some trial and error moments. You know what I'm saying? I've found that if you take a moment and you just kind of feel what you're feeling, like take it and say, okay, what am I feeling? What's off? Like, is it my head? Is it my body? Is it my, whatever it is, right? Take a moment to be in that. I'm in it, thinking about it. I'm like, okay, oh, I think, this is something that's wrong, right? What are the possible ways I can fix this, right? One of the first things I do, or I try to do, is get water. That's probably one of the first things, because being hydrated is usually at the top of everybody's list. You need to make sure that you're hydrated. Then the next thing, right, is usually the sunlight. So I'll try to go take a walk. It also depends on what you can do in terms of your availability. This may not work for you every single day, because you could have to go to work, or you might have other obligations. I don't know your life, so it could be a lot hard. Like I said, I don't know, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I really don't know all the solutions. So if that's one of your biggest kickers, where you are in a schedule that's so tight that you really cannot get outside to just take that walk, or just to sit in the sun for a little bit, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what to do. At that point in time, you definitely want to seek a professional that can probably give you better grounded advice than I could. But from my experience, I find that getting that water first, going outside, usually fixes it for me. at least for a good period of time. If I notice that I'm still not feeling the best way, sometimes just take a nap. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be so honest. Taking a nap can help. It can just reset your body real quick and get you on the right track. And sometimes it's just you really are going through the motions, and so you just gotta feel it, right? Not every day we're waking up at 100%. And I said that last podcast, I believe. Like, you literally have days where you're not at your best, and that's okay. That is completely okay, because what you can do is do what you can do. That's it. It's not rocket science. It's nothing complicated. Do what you can do. If all that you can do is just drink some water and hit back in the bed, do what you got to do. I don't feel like we're doing our neighbors and our community members a good service if we're judging them based off of what they can do, because then it's like, well, like what else is here? Like what else can we do? That's literally it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm doing my best. I'm doing the best that I can do. You judge me based off of that, puts us in a situation that's pretty much a zero-sum game. There's nobody that's going to win here because I'm doing my best. So the argument itself is kind of just, it's failing. Let's be real. So honestly, like I said, drink some water. Try to go outside and sit in the sun. I know the weather can be something that can deter you as well. It's cold outside, and I can't stress that enough. The cold weather is definitely playing a factor. It's seasonal depression for a reason. The seasons change, things are changing, things outside are technically dying. The trees are having their, death cycle of sorts, and so it is going to feel a lot heavier. But the sun really does help. Case in point, I went outside the other day, literally yesterday, and I was, before I even went outside, I was starting my day, started doing some different things, and I just kind of felt a little off. I was like, something's, just not feeling the way I needed to feel. And so I went out. I knew exactly where to go. That's the perfect thing. When you have a place and a spot in your hometown or wherever you are or pass frequently, that's always the best. But I knew exactly where to go. I went out there. I sat in the sun, just soaked it all in. I watched the views of everything. I might put some clips on the video, and like, truly, it was just a really great time, right? I like being out in nature, so that's my place where I find to be able to be the most grounded. That also helped mentally because that space is a very grounding space, and it just so happens to be outside where the sun can reach me as well. So it's kind of killing two birds with one stone. For you, it might be different. Your safe space might be inside your closet. I don't know, right? Some people have prayer closets. Some people, feel safest when they're in the bathroom. Real stuff. Like, let's be real. So wherever you may feel safe, it might be where you need to just ground yourself in that moment for a second. And that could be enough for you. I don't know. So I don't want to give you, a sense of this advice being the end all be all for your situation, but I do want to give you possible solutions, because anything is possible. And at a certain point in your journey, sometimes you get to the point where you're just like, I'll try anything just to feel better. I'll try anything just to feel sane. I just want to be back to equilibrium. I just want to get back in balance, and I'm going to try whatever is available to do this. And sometimes, I've heard this from people that I've talked to. I'll suggest something one day, and they're like, well, I've tried that before. Well, try it again. It doesn't hurt, right? Sometimes there's seasons of your life where you're going through something and you try to do something and it just doesn't work out, right? And then there's sometimes where a season will pass you and you're in a new one, or you're just in a new space in general. And that thing that you tried that didn't work before, trying it again might actually help it. I don't know if y'all have ever had this situation when you're about to plug in something to the wall, probably your charger, and you go to plug it in, and it's really the USB part of the charger from the block. You go to plug it in, doesn't work, right? So you're like, okay, I just got to turn it around, still doesn't go in, right? You're like, what is going on? Like, there's only one of two ways it can go. So you do it again, you turn it back around, and that first way was actually the right way. Sometimes it's like that. The first time you do it, it might not go in. It could have been the right thing. It still could have been the right side of the charging port, but whatever you were doing, whatever position you had it, it just wasn't the right position at that moment. So you try another way, and you try something else or whatever, but eventually you realize actually this was the right way to do it. Maybe I just wasn't ready. Maybe I wasn't going slow enough. Maybe I didn't take my time or just had a good pace. Maybe I was trying to rush through it. Maybe my mindset wasn't clicking on whatever it was. Maybe I was angry. when I tried to do this. Maybe I wasn't even open to it and I just did it because I wanted that person to stop talking to me. The reality. So sometimes it does take you trying something again. And again, people that have invented things in this world did not stop trying. And that's why we have cameras. That's why we have podcast mics. That's why we have TVs. That's why we have blankets. People tried something and they may have failed the first time, but they kept trying until it worked. And that's how I really want you to, really look at your situation and say, there may be things that I've tried before. I'm going to try it again because I really do want to get better. If that's something that you want, I encourage you. Try your best and try it again. So that's pretty much all I had to say with this episode. Like I said, try to get outside, get you some sun rays, get you some sun exposure. Don't be out there too long. Make sure you wear some sunblock, because that is still important all year round. It doesn't matter if it's winter, it doesn't matter if it's summer. It's important all year round. But stay hydrated, stay safe, stay blessed. I hope this episode found you well. If you're new, thank you for being here. Make sure you check out all the channels. You got the YouTube, you got the Instagram, all that. Phoenix Speaks everywhere for the most part. So wherever you might, be looking for me, I should be there under Phoenix Speaks, PHENIX Speaks. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day, evening, wherever I have met you, wherever I have found you. I'm glad that you are here to share this moment with me. I love you guys. Peace, love, Phoenix.